In the first week of my 3-week journey, I stayed in Baden-Württemberg, doing some sightseeing, but more importantly, chilling, living like a local, and experiencing the small town culture. But 1 week later, it's time to move on to the big city, Berlin. On my 6-hour journey from Stuttgart to Berlin, I couldn't help but keep reflecting on what Linda said in our little interview. So she does adapt the way she's speaking to the person she's speaking to. On the one hand, it's partially a conscious thing, but on the other hand, it doesn't feel like a different language. It's not like a foreign language to her. It's just a thing that she naturally does. This is so weird. I'm thinking in German because I've been speaking German the whole week. And now it feels so weird to speak in English and my mouth is not moving as smoothly as it should be. And it was also interesting to see the benefits and drawbacks that new technologies have brought to these non-standard languages. Because in some senses, these languages are way worse off than small or endangered, but recognized and standardized languages such as the Celtic languages of the
Atlantic archipelago.
Because it's really rare to see things like software interfaces, autocorrect, or speech recognition in these non-standardized languages because it's hard to find one standard way to write them. And in that regard, I can really relate to Schwäbisch because Cantonese also suffers from the very same problem. It is a very widely spoken language, actually way more widely spoken than Schwäbisch is, but at the same time, it's not considered a standard language just because of historical reasons and conventions. And by virtue of that, we don't get publications, communications, interfaces, and anything of that sort in our own language, even though we do write it between ourselves in our day-to-day lives. And one thing Linda said that really stayed with me was, because it's not written, that makes it even more important to speak this language. Because also people hear something is not a written language or it's not a standard language, it's not a language, and they think it's less important. But at the same time, if a language really is only spoken, then that means it's got some extra value in being spoken, so we should actually be speaking it as much as we can. And I'm really glad that at least one person is welcoming towards foreign people learning their own way of speaking. Because like I said in my accent video, it feels really weird to speak in a really specific local way when you're not from there. You feel like you are appropriating their culture. You're taking something from them that really belongs to them. But from her perspective, it's a really nice thing that people move into the area and then learn to speak the way that they speak in order to become a part of this area. So the only real hurdle would be where to start, because as we know, it's all a huge dialect spectrum. In fact, we looked at a dialect map and it's a big mess. Every single place speaks a bit differently, that's why it's not standardized. But if I, as a person who's not living in that area, wanted to learn that language or dialect, I think the best way to start would be to find a place that I really like, or a person, and then go on this journey. And if you too want to go on a language learning journey with me, subscribe to the channel and we can be best pals. We can support each other on this beautiful journey. After a good night's rest, it's finally time to rediscover Berlin, which I assume speaks perfect standard German, right?
Oh, wait. I've seen this bridge. That's where they did the Justina video.
Wo ist Justina? Nach dem ersten Kapitel steht Justina immer noch hier.
Now, I haven't got much time in Berlin, so I made the most of it by meeting old friends. And that came with a special linguistic surprise that I previously had no idea about.
好啦，我哋而家就嚟到呢一個叫做 Tempelhof 嘅公園啦。咁咧，我今日就喺柏林啦，咁就同我朋友幫你一齊行路啦，即係好德國嘅一樣嘢就係行路傾偈，係啦。咁啊，邦尼你係住喺柏林幾耐啊？
而家11年啦，就快邁向緊，但係 total 10年啦。
咁咧，我呢排喺度諗緊好多關於呢個語言啊、方言嘅嘢啦。咁咧，我一直諗住咧，都係覺得柏林係即係大都會啦，就好多人啊搬入嚟啦。咁所以我覺得柏林係冇咗個方言㗎啦。咁但係其實係唔係咁嘅咧？
其實就唔係嘅，即係我當然啦，而家有好多人唔同嘅人搬入嚟啦，咁可能話亦都有唔同本身嘅移民，咁佢哋自己都會帶住佢哋自己唔同嘅口音或者係方言咁樣嚟啦。咁其實喺柏林真係土生土長嘅Ur-Berliner 啦，我哋叫嘅，即係本身嘅柏林人啦。咁佢哋自己都會講嘅佢哋自己一種方言啦，我會 say。咁其實都似學 Deutsch 嘅，但係可能話有啲字咧就會係唔係好似普通平時大家學書本上嘅德文咁樣咯。
咁你認識嘅柏林方言，即係本身嘅柏林方言，係同我識嘅標準德文即係 Hochdeutsch 係有幾唔同嘅呢？
其實咧就可能話唔係話即係較唔同嘅，可能話有啲字要轉一轉咯。
咁其實呢個係唔係相當於附近嗰個省，即係 Brandenburg 嗰個口音嚟㗎？
其實都係咯，即係其實你去到 Brandenburg 或者係一啲世世代代都住喺柏林嘅柏林人，佢哋就會咁樣講嘢，就可能話轉咗 OK，das 會變咗 dit 啦，跟住可能話das ist schön，咁呢個就會變咗做 var 啦，佢哋會就 dit ist schön var 咁樣啦。如果佢哋讀得快又嘅時候，如果又唔熟嗰樣嘢嘅話，就會咩嚟嘅咧咁樣咯。
即係你住喺度都會聽到人講呢一個口音㗎？
係，即係其實如果你可能話去一啲真係好柏林人開嘅鋪頭啦，或者係去一啲比較 local 會去嘅地方，即係話咧 say 你去包豪，即係呢度嘅五金建材鋪或者係買花園嘅 supplies 嘅鋪頭，咁可能喺嗰度做嘢嘅人就係非常之柏林啦，或者係可能你去消防局，咁消防局嘅同事咧都會非常之係咁樣講嘢嘅，咁係咯，即係佢哋都會咁樣，就唔會話係好似我哋平時書本上或者係教德文嘅老師，可能佢哋係第二個省份或者第二個城市嚟嘅，佢哋就唔會咁教咯。
咁我就諗緊到底呢一個係即係佢係算係一個方言啦，定係純粹佢有啲字換走咗呢？即係其實係唔係我只要學咗呢幾個字就等於我識呢一個咁樣嘅講嘢嘅方式呢？
其實以我所知呢，就仲有堆字係唔同叫法嘅佢哋，但係呢，我亦都因為即係因為純粹工作需要，所以接觸到呢個啦。咁就基本上就係我聽得多嘅時候就會大概 get 到，咁佢哋最多嚟嚟去都係呢三個講嘅嗰個features 係比較特別嘅啫。咁其他字佢哋都用翻所謂嘅 Hochdeutsch 啦。咁可能話有啲字我聽唔明嘅，咁 OK 可能佢就會話咁嗰個咪就係乜乜乜乜乜，咁可能 OK 我已經可能真係 to be fair 我真係唔記得咗啦。咁但係即係其實但係要有人話俾你聽 OK 呢個 conversion 係乜嘢，咁就會好順咯。如果冇人話俾你聽嘅時候就會好棘咯。
即係你要適應少少嘅，咁但係同時間其實佢哋同你講嘢嘅時候，佢淨係會保留翻某幾個最出名嘅 feature， 即係其他就用翻標準德文就算啦。
可能對住我係咯，
都可能係會對住唔同嘅人就講唔同嘅方式咁。
係啦，即係可能話佢哋見到我咁嘅樣啦，咁就會咁樣啦，咁樣係啊，非常之可愛嘅 Asian 樣啦，咁佢哋就冇落得咁重啦，可能就會，但係佢哋都會慣口咗，可能話啲咁你啲同話咁。你聽多排咁，即係佢哋略少少，你都會聽得明嘅。咁可能話佢哋有啲可能話好 specific 嘅麵包啊嗰堆字，即係對於我嚟講就係一個我唔係話一個好研究麵包嘅人嘅時候，咁可能佢哋有麵包嗰啲字有唔同嘅叫法，咁我就會真係唔知咯。咁我就會都係望到個包我就滴咁樣就滴咗佢就算，即好似人哋喺香港叫濕圍咁樣咯。
This rice 啊
，this rice 啊
，this rice，
咁就變咗滴啊咁樣咯，係啊，即係我以前做影樓嘅，咁可能做影相嘅時候咁。你下揀相，跟住我就佢哋就會話跟住我可能話要 confirm 嘅時候，我就話咁我都會咁樣，即係咁令到佢哋都有親切感咯。
咦，即係其實雖然你唔係呢度大，同埋你亦都唔係即係特別識呢一個嘅方言，但係你係會嘗試去同人用㗎。你喺邊度會有機會可以用到呢種？同埋佢哋咩反應呢？
其實咧，如果以前嘅話就翻工會用得着啦，因為以前我係對真係好 client facing 嘅，真係好係街鋪 facing 咁樣啦。咁嗰陣時就會多啲機會嘅。咁而家就可能話翻去一個 office setting 咧就少啲啦。但係可能話去一啲包豪沙，即係大家所認識嘅就係唔係嗰個建築風格，係講緊建材鋪咧。咁佢哋就會都用，即係啲 staff 都非常之 local 啦。咁就所以喺嗰啲情況就係佢哋可能話對住我，可能諗住我就係識 Hochdeutsch 或者係 even like Deutsch 啦 and überhaupt you know 就咁 佢哋就會唔會覺得我會可以咁樣認到佢嗰啲的話啊，嗰啲啦 shooty 咁樣嗰啲毛嘅嘢，咁佢哋就會好開心嘅。其實真係一個好 local 嘅講法，而嗰樣嘢係唔需要話花好多力氣嘅，我覺得啦嚇。即係OK 有一樣嘢就係有個前設嘅，就係個前設就係你要識講德文咯。咁呢樣嘢就係 on top build 上去嘅一個技能咯。
咁你嘅印象中柏林人佢自己對於呢一種嘅方言定係咩都好啦，用語都好啦，即係佢哋嘅情感係點？即係佢哋會唔會覺得係差啲？我唔應該用啊？定係會唔會覺得好自豪啊？
我覺得好睇人嘅都
Okay.
咁可能話我即係我喺一啲 occasion 可能拳館咁樣啦，我都識咗啲後生仔，咁佢哋就會有少少用力地避免去咁 Berliner 嘅咁樣，但係我就覺得咁對住我其實真係唔需要咯，即係 at least 因為我聽得明，因為以前份工嘅關係，咁冇需要避咯，即係對住我啊你 Gianna like you can do it like 冇問題嘅，但係咁佢哋就你慣咗啦咁樣，咁就冇，咁我就 like OK 你中意啦咁樣，你起啦咁樣，你中意點講就點講，但係老一輩嘅咁佢哋會照講咁。佢哋照講對住我會聽得明。咁有啲人 take it for granted，有啲人係話其實你識 like überhaupt 你識講德文已經係好感動嘅，跟住仲要係可以講埋即係 at least passively 聽得明嘅，咁佢哋會好開心咯。即係睇人咯，其實好多嘢都係。
即係好得意，後生嗰啲你係話佢係自己習慣咗撳低佢自己嘅口音定咩都好，咁但係變咗係你反而鼓勵翻佢，即係你作為一個外人咧，你同佢講，你講翻你平時喺屋企講開嘅方式啦。係，
因為其實我覺得呢個都係幾得意嘅一樣嘢，即係話對於我嚟講就係有啲似我 localize 翻自己，即係雖然我都住喺柏林都好耐啦，咁但係問題我覺得。作為一個柏林人，佢哋冇需要去壓抑呢個身份，我亦都覺得係一個 good way 去 refresh 翻個 memory of 我對於嗰樣嘢嘅 understanding。即係我覺得因為有時候唔用嘅話咧，就可能有啲生鏽。咁我唔係日日都去踎喺包校數買嘢噶嘛，就係咁講，係咪先？
咁你對於你德文嘅口音，你有咩感受咧？即係你會點形容你嘅口音啊？同埋你覺得你滿唔滿意咧？
我覺得我嘅口音係真係仲係好廣東話嘅，即係雖然住喺呢度咁耐啦，咁有啲人就會話你啲德文都幾似嗰啲即係16歲、17歲跟住老豆老母過嚟開餐館嘅人啦。咁我 I will take it as a compliment，因為我係其實理論上其實係遲啲先去德國嘅咁樣。咁因為我有時候都會有啲 shame of like 我啲廣東話口音，因為佢哋會唔慣啦，因為唔係一個咁大嘅 community， 得佢哋平時好熟呢個口音，咁佢哋就會你可唔可以講多次啊咁樣啦。咁 OK， 我覺得有啲 sad 嘅，但係咧我到後尾就會覺得，咁我都識講德文啦，你仲想我點咯？我仲識聽埋你嗰啲乜柏林口音，即係我覺得你仲想點咯？即係咁樣啦，我覺得係啊。
即係你覺得我滿意啦？你係覺得我咁樣溝通到就 OK 啦。
我覺得口音啊呢啲咁嘅嘢都係人嘅 identity 嘅一部分。咁 OK， 可能有一日如果我需要好 mask 我自己嘅身份嘅時候，即係可能有一個安全嘅問題，咁 OK 翻嚟，咁可能我都希望我自己可以㗎，like mask 好啲啊，冇咁多所謂嘅廣東話口音啦。但係如果以一個正常嘅情況底下，我有乜嘢需要咁做咧？即係我識講已經算係咁啦，仲想點啊？
因為我見你好似對於呢個柏林口音都幾有正面嘅情感嘅，係咪咧？你係咪幾中意咧？咁所以我想問你擔唔擔心佢受到威脅咧？尤其是喺柏林係咁大都會嘅一個環境之下。有
啲可能話後生仔可能都會好 depends on 佢自己本身嘅 upbringing 係點嘅，即係如果佢 keep 住，你可以 keep 住繼續好 local 啊，而我亦都唔會覺得話因為好多外國人喺度，跟住就會影響咗呢一樣即係柏林口音嘅一樣嘢，因為佢哋都會教人嚟講㗎嘛，係咪先？
都會嘅，
即係都會嘅。咁，我覺得都會互相影響嘅，而可能話。我亦都會覺得語言亦都係一樣不斷隨時間 evolve 嘅一樣嘢。可能嗰啲柏林人即係嗰啲 Ur-Berliner，佢哋可能會跟住而家嘅 trend 講啲乜嘢，即係可能話 Yalla 咁樣嗰啲，即係可能嗰啲啦咁樣。咁我唔熟啦嚇，真係唔熟。咁可能話嗰度嗰啲，即係話啲移民影響翻本土嗰個德文嘅使用，跟住或者係可能 local 亦都會影響佢哋，即係嗰個影響，我相信永遠都係即係互相嘅咯。即係與其話。你驚柏林口音會消失，不如你話柏林其實佢變成緊一種新嘅嘢，即係佢係融合咗更加多嘅嘢，變成一個更加
唔同嘅柏林口音。
即係我有聽同一個教喺呢度教中學嘅一個女仔有傾過偈啦，即係佢係一個講移民後代啦，香港嘅移民後代。咁佢就有講話原來而家嘅德文咧，可能話你啲grammatical mistakes 咧，要睇下本身嗰個學生係即係佢屋企人喺邊度嚟啦。咁亦都喺度出現咗好多 Yala 啊嗰啲咁樣，即係可能話有好多嗰啲阿拉伯字啊，或者係有好多我唔知啊，即係土耳其嘅 influence 啊。咁永遠都係咁樣 evolve，即係我覺得係冇話咁一定要好 pure 地保存一堆有一啲咁嘅嘢啦。我自己覺得啦嚇，咁但係可能有啲柏林人可能唔係咁睇嘅，咁呢個係佢哋嘅 opinion，咁 it is like their thing， 係咯。
我覺得你某程度上已經好代表到呢個柏林人啦。
大家只係做大家唔同嘅嘢啫，係啦。
If you like me, you're not only surprised that this metropolitan dialect is somewhat still alive, but also find it interesting that outsiders to this metropolis are encouraging its continued existence. But is it a Berlin dialect? Or is it so-called local slang? Or is it the dialect of the surrounding region? Is it even possible to classify something like this into language, dialect, slang, when even the people speaking it are freely choosing how much of the speech to use in their daily lives?
So something went very wrong with my travel plans, and now I have to leave Berlin around 19 hours earlier than expected. And I just point out how interesting it is that these T-Mobile Euro 2024 ads are written in each region's local dialect, because I saw the Schwäbisch ones when I was in Stuttgart. That's kind of cool. So here we go again on another 6.5-hour train.
15 minutes later.
My train has vanished from the departure table and it's nowhere to be found. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's coming, it's coming. That's my train. So here's the famous 6-seater layout, which feels old school until you realize that every seat has its own power outlet, which is more than what I can say for probably British Rail or Deutsche Bahn trains.
But enough about Germany. What about its neighbour? How do Polish people treat their regional languages and dialects? Are they in a similar, healthy situation? Stay tuned for the grand finale of this trip to find out.